I'm a badass, asexual, polyhedral disorder. I'm proud to be. I'm a flying ace and fly through outer space. Hello, sweetie. I'm a badass, asexual, polyhedral disorder. I'm proud to be in whatever sitch, like singing on Twitch or playing D&D. I'm a badass, asexual, polyhedral disorder. You may call me obsessive, but I just border on being a collector and being a dragon that sits atop my treasure. That's so shiny. I'm a badass, asexual, polyhedral disorder. And my partners love me for it. I'm a natural 20 when it comes to being me. I'm a time traveler, so Alonzi. I'm a badass, asexual, polyhedral disorder, and proud to be. I'm a flying ace and fly through outer space. Hello, sweetie. I'm a badass, asexual, polyhedral disorder, and proud to be. I'm a flying ace and fly through outer space. Hello, sweetie. I'm a badass, asexual, polyhedral disorder. I'm proud to be. I'm a flying ace and fly through outer space. Hello, sweetie. I'm a badass, asexual, polyhedral disorder. I'm proud to be in whatever sitch, like singing on Twitch or playing D&D. I'm a badass, asexual, polyhedral disorder. You may call me obsessive, but I just border on being a collector and being a dragon that sits atop my treasure. That's so shiny. I'm a badass, asexual, polyhedral disorder. And my partners love me for it. I'm a natural 20 when it comes to being me. I'm a time traveler, so Alonzi. I'm a badass, asexual, polyhedral disorder, and proud to be. I'm a flying ace and fly through outer space. Hello, sweetie. I'm a badass, asexual, polyhedral.  'Cause I'm
So, Shadowfell.
About that
fucking Shadowfell.
Nope.
You've managed to avoid a lot of the despair and gloom that are told of in the stories of the Shadowfell. Having multiple people who can wield divine radiant energy seems to be very effective at keeping some of the more feral denizens at bay. You've finally reached the city that you've been moving towards for what seemed like a year, but really has only been a few short weeks. And you've encountered some undead creatures, a strange old woman, some more Shatterkai, but thus far, as you get closer and closer to the breach between the Shadowfell and the world that you come from, on which the other side lies, unknown horrors from beyond this reality. You're not quite sure what's going to await you. You're all kind of at this moment taking stock of of your situation. You had just encountered an ambush by a number of undead somethings, accompanied by shadowhounds that seemed to have been perhaps pursuing those Shatterkai that you left behind just a short while ago after a tense standoff in a ruined street. A number of these dead creatures kind of lie at your feet. You're kind of just breathing heavily. It's dark. It's gloomy. What would you like to do from here?
It's getting more and more unpleasant.
We are in the city right now.
On the outskirts. Probably got another mile or 3, give or take, before you reach the sort of apex of the lake, where the breaches seem to have been most commonly found. They're unpredictable, and it's not necessarily one constant, but rather sort of a fluid, weakened curtain between the shadow and the other side. But it all seems to be concentrated on that one area of the city.
I suppose we should continue on.
Are all the buildings around here ruined, or are there any that seem like they're reasonably still standing that you might be able to get just a little taller?
There's a couple that are multi-storied. I mean, it's difficult to really kind of determine what may have happened to some of these buildings. I mean, it's almost as if the buildings themselves have just kind of succumbed to the despair of the plane that they're in. But there are a couple of taller buildings that aren't complete rubble and ruin that you can.
Is it possible to
find
parkour up one and get a look at the area around?
You could climb one.
I'm gonna fall on my ass.
Doth need a hand.
So
I would not complain.
Because of their condition, they're not. It's not like a particularly difficult climb.
Since Cortanus is helping, does that make it a straight roll?
Should give you a boost. Oh, you have a point of exhaustion, and so you have a disadvantage. Is that what you're saying? Okay. I would say that she can probably give you a boost up and cancel out your disadvantage.
Yes, ducks a bit, puts hands out for.
No, that's not great. Nope.
Oh no.
Nope.
It's
That's
not that
5,
difficult.
Am I catching
my
him?
athletics is a -1.
What'd you get? Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
It's not a difficult.
Just don't roll a 1.
Just don't roll a 1. Yeah. I mean, the conditions are not against you, and it took a little while. Like you guys are seeing Velis like clamber up on top of things, but he's sort of like, oh. And it's like it's the whole time, Worry is just kind of like floating nearby, just watching. But you make it to the top, and the roof of this building is mostly intact, and it looks like it's partially. So there are a number of buildings that are a sort of a combination of stone and wood. So a lot of the buildings and whatnot in Warden seem to have been modeled after the architectural style, at least of what you can tell from here, except almost exclusively use of wood. Whereas here, there's a lot more blending of stonework and wood. And where you have a lot of wood, it's dried, cracked, gray, or not rotted away. In that the typical mildew and that kind of thing, because there's not a lot of that organic life here, but just falling apart nonetheless. But there's plenty of perches to stand on and climb up. Look about. Go ahead and make a perception check.
Okay, that's actually not bad with disadvantage. 17.
Okay. So as you kind of stand on this roof, you do see there is a bit of a vantage point that you get on the surrounding area. You can see back behind the direction that you came. There does seem to be some source of light, roughly in the area where that old woman was. Everything is kind of perpetually dim and gloomy here. Even in the bright middle of the day, it manages to be always not bright. Ahead of you, towards the lake, you can see a lot more of the sort of collapsed structures, occasionally interspersed with what might be like avenues and parks. But as you're kind of staring out into the distance, looking around, seeing if there's anything of note, you don't see anything. But maybe a couple of streets over, it seems, you hear the sounds of jingling chainmail.
Great.
Like, and regular footsteps, like marching, almost.
Just one or multiple?
It sounds like it might be multiple.
Okay. I'm gonna use the message brooch and just tell everyone who has one. Looks clear up here, but I can hear something from a couple streets over. And I tell them what I relay that.
Mm-hmm.
And then climb back down.
Mm-hmm. Might start wandering that way, like up against a building, and see if she can peer around a corner and see what's coming.
Okay. Are you being stealthy?
Yes.
Okay. Then roll a stealth check and a perception check.
Okay. Stealth
Please be
is
sneaky.
an 18, and perception is a 15.
Okay. So you sort of step around in the direction that Velas had indicated, and as you move forward a little bit, you too can begin to hear the thing that he had described. It just sounds like a regiment of some kind, sort of unknown size maybe, of soldiers, sounds like they're marching. You can hear the sounds of the beat of their feet, boots striking the ground, and the sort of regular sound of the chainmail jingling.
Indeed, a land of confusion. Is there anywhere to duck down and kind of like duck within an alley, be able to?
There's debris and stuff all
underneath.
over the place. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they get close enough, try to like duck in.
Sure. So you
And then
duck
try to
behind and
get eyes on it.
yeah. So you duck behind a wall and you can hear the sound moving closer. Like whatever this group is, it seems to be getting louder. It seems to be getting closer. And you sort of kind of like very surreptitiously kind of peek out around the corner from behind, maybe a fallen wall or something like that. And based on what you're hearing, it sounds as if they're right next to you. But you don't see anything. Just an empty street. And you can hear just the faint sound of almost far away, but it sounds like someone barking orders in like an old Elvish.
Duck back down and use her brooch to relay all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds out here, but nothing to be seen.
If other people pass that on, because Weir currently doesn't have a brooch, she would say, is it possible to hear sounds from the other side? Or from through time? This wouldn't be developed to Cortanus, because Weir doesn't have a brooch, but to like everyone here. Kristen, you're muted.
Wouldn't be surprised if
I don't know what I know.
come over.
Well, I know anything
Everything
about-
else seems to.
You can hear sounds between planes where...
Yeah, I was gonna say, would like Elias or Weary or
the
somebody
veil is
know?
thin.
You could make a Arcana check.
Arcana?
Sure.
Sure.
I can
No
do
chance of
that.
that being religion. I'm not trained in Arcana, so...
Well, where he is, so that
There's
helps.
a
Let's
sort
see
of
what
knowledge
it's-
about the planes and that sort of thing. So you could probably do religion as well.
14
Okay.
total.
If it's religion, then it's a
Sure.
20.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So where you're sort of like thinking back to the stories that you've read about planes and travel between, and I mean generally it requires either like something similar to the environment where things are really close and you can kind of like move from one to the other, or like really high powerful magic. But anything like this, you're not quite sure. Elias, you're thinking about it for a moment, trying to think about like, stories of things coming from the Shadowfell, and your best guess likely is that this is some kind of, it has nothing to do with planes, but rather just almost a memory imprinted on this place
Ghost
that's
sounds.
responding to the presence of some people.
Okay.
So, like, almost a ghost in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
That's not unsettling at all.
Yeah, I'll relay that. Be like, sometimes memories get stuck in places like this.
Weary will message Cortanus with Elias says sometimes memories get stuck in places like this.
It is a Shadowfell.
Yeah.
Like, he
Great.
just quotes it. That's it.
So even
Memories.
the sounds are ghosts.
Well, I
I'm
think.
not actually surprised.
I mean, hopefully that means they can't do anything to us, right?
I'm pretty sure ghosts can do something.
Well,
We've
but ghosts
seen
and
that.
like weird memory sounds are not
Yeah.
necessarily the same thing.
Bellis
Eventually,
is staring at Elias.
the
at that.
sounds of the soldiers sort of fade away as it seems as if they've gone on to somewhere else.
Mhm. As soon as that happens,
You can no
she'll
longer hear them.
start heading back to the group and just shake her head.
Okay. Sure.
Well, perhaps we should just continue carefully and avoid any strange noises.
As difficult as that may be.
There's only so much we can do.
We at least know the basic direction we're going, so
Yes. You kind of got that a little bit from previously, and Velas popped up and kind of got his bearings so that he could probably guide you.
Yes. The straightest route we can find then.
All right. So as you're traveling, I'm assuming you're all going to be sneaky, and some of you are going to be specifically keeping an eye out. So those of you who are going to concentrate more on being sneaky, if I can get a stealth check, and those of you who are going to concentrate more on keeping an eye out, get a perception check.
I'm gonna
19 for stealth.
Okay.
We can do either. What would people prefer to be focused on?
Probably
Whatever we have less of.
Yeah, I guess.
Leah's going to focus on
Keeping an eye
staying
out.
aware.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Wiria has the same bonus to both stealth and perception. So the question is, what would the group prefer her to be focusing on? Trying to keep them quiet or trying to...
To keep an eye out, could honestly go stealth.
I would say if you choose to use your broom and stay elevated, you could have advantage on your perception check.
Okay. She'll do that, but she will use a second level spell slot and cast invisibility.
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
I rolled a 9 on my perception check.
Okay, that was a
13 for
that's
stealth.
a dirty 20 on perception.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You're making your way towards the general central area of this part of the city. Last you could see, it was kind of like a larger open area, fewer buildings, more natural grounds. But it's still, at least a few miles-ish, give or take, at a distance that is narratively convenient, basically. You travel a little further on, and at some point, as you're traveling, you catch just like a glint of something, like a light kind of reflecting off of some kind of shiny surface that catches your eye in an otherwise sort of bit of shadow. And as you look closer, kind of high up on your room, it looks like a small face peering out of the shadows, like a small animal or creature that's just kind of staring at you.
Okay.
It seems its eyes are very shiny and reflective, but it's very dark, and you can see perfectly well in darkness, but it is very dirty, and it seems to be like almost underneath like some fallen
Camouflage.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Wiria will, when she sees that, after taking a look, a moment to look at it, will fly down and, rather than cast a spell on invisibility, quietly tell someone in the group about it.
Right. And it seemed to be like small woodland animal kind of thing, almost.
Okay. Did it move at all? Did it seem...
No, it was just
very still?
Very still.
So she'll include that in case that matters. But it's like maybe it's not alive, maybe it's alive. I don't know. But there's a small creature, very shiny eyes, very hidden. Garen, if you're talking, you're muted.
Oh, that could be anything. Did it seem threatening?
No, it mostly seemed to be hiding, or at least covered in things, sort of camouflaged, I guess is the best way to put it. But
it kind of had like a very. You've never seen anything like it before. It was very big eyes, maybe sort of maybe some kind of snout or beak. It was kind of difficult to tell because it was really kind of very dirty. But like, definitely had a cute appearance, which is a remarkable contrast to a lot of the horrific, monstrous creatures that you've encountered in the last.
Wario would say, honestly, I mean, it was dirty, but it looked kind of cute. I don't know. It looked really different from a lot of the things we've seen here.
That's just more unsettling.
I mean, normally I'd say cute things are good, but they're not really common here. So that might, I mean, unless it's something that's got stuck here and has been hiding.
Yes. It seemeth strange it would be stuck here for so long without a problem if it was something mundane.
Well, we don't know how long it's been here. I just know it's dirty.
Perhaps.
So why don't we just pretend we never saw it and move along?
Okay. And Weary sort of gives them a little bit more information about where she spotted it so they can try to avoid it.
Okay.
Sneak around that then.
Why don't I have everyone everyone this time, make another stealth roll.
Okay.
25.
19.
6.
It's okay, 12.
25.
I don't know how much longer I'm gonna last.
6.
Now that I'm sitting down pretty tired.
Okay.
Yeah, I may not be able to stay up actually.
Okay. No, it's. I think I've got something that we can kind of lead into and then kind of pause it from there. I mean, like, are you talking like 5 minutes or 15 minutes?
Or
like 1 minute? And then, I mean, John may be asleep. I don't know. He's been quiet.
No, John is.
I think John actually fell asleep.
He might be asleep.
Oh no.
Yeah. I think he's. Oh wait, it's just been a very long day. So.
Oh, I would imagine.
Sorry.
Family stuff is always draining. So you kind of take an alternate route around the area that Wuria had seen this creature. As you're making your way through some of the streets, those of you who are sort of keeping an eye out, you catch sight of some movement in the shadows. And you're kind of far off and hidden. But what you see is sort of a bit of darkness, sort of something in the shadows, kind of move out into like a not a beam of light, because there's not like sunlight or anything, but it kind of moves into your field of vision. And you can see it's a small orb about the size of a grapefruit, floating about 15, 20 feet off the ground. Not that big or so. It has a large central eye, sort of a mouth with jagged teeth and little eye stalks coming out of it.
Oh no.
You've seen one of these.
Nope.
Little gazer. You can see it sort of move. It's kind of just very slowly moving forward. every now and again, one of the eyes on top just kind of like pokes around, but it stops. And then it just kind of waits for a moment. And then you can see another one kind of coming from behind another building, kind of comes up to it and approaches it. And they sort of stop almost like face to face for a little bit. And then they're just kind of both staring at one another for a short while. You can see the mouths kind of moving. You're too far away to really see too much more detail. And then eventually, after maybe a minute, they just kind of both turn in different directions and start drifting away.
Nope.
Let's avoid those.
Let's avoid anything even a little bit like those.
I mean, I think the goal is to avoid most things in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. You've been doing pretty well on the survival checks. No natural 20s and a lot of offset, or no natural 1s and a lot of offset of high rolls to take care of the low rolls. When you travel on a bit further, you come across, it looks to be sort of the beginning of that large open area near the edge of the lake. And as you're moving through a street, you can see it kind of opens up in front of you. And it's somewhat familiar, and then you realize that you're actually coming up on what looks to be a graveyard.
Of course.
And those of you up on point notice a figure sort of cloaked in dark.
Cloaked figures in graveyards.
Cloaked figure in a graveyard, kind of moving about. Looks like they're attempting to move quietly and stealthily. And they seem to be sort of almost looking around, looking for something. But what I would say is you can make a perception check to see what it is that you can see about this dark, robed, cloaked figure in the graveyard.
Okay. That's a 19 total.
Okay.
9.
Most of them got 9.
9.
20 total.
Okay.
Not that good.
Okay. I don't know if you're just listening in, John, or if you don't have dice at all or anything, but if Aiden specifically sees anything or rolls anything. But I haven't heard you chime in for a little bit. I mean, the 20 is really kind of pretty sufficient to see most of the detail.
19 out of 20 should be pretty good.
You're kind of peering into the darkness, and you can see that the figure is very hunched over. And the robes and the that they're wearing are almost rags, just worn, filthy, dirty, a sort of a patchwork mix of various materials, but all of it so dirty that you can't even really tell what it is. And in a couple of glimpses that you get, it's a very pale skin. And there's something about the skin itself that's it's hard to tell from this distance. You're probably 100, 120 feet away or so, give or take. And it's just the look of it seems off. It's almost it's not like a pale like pink, but like a sort of a whitish blue, like a very, very pale blue. And you can see that they've got just the like wraps or something, like not sure what in this distance around their hands. So it's really kind of hard to get a good look at them. But with your 20, Elias, you do notice that the figure seems to be a humanoid of some kind. Their face is very, very dirty, but vaguely furbolg in appearance.
Oh.
Oh.
Well.
Well.
And then you're sort of like thinking about it, like that's why their skin doesn't look smooth and shiny, because it's actually just like furry, so it
Right.
uses the light quite a bit. That and like the heavy layers of dirt on them.
Well,
But
that's
it's only just a passing glimpse. And they're sort of they like move out of sight, but they're like going through, and it looks like they're like looking at different gravestones and kind of looking around.
Nope.
Sorry, I really have to.
Bess is asleep.
yeah.
Yeah,
I was
that's
saying this
not
seems like something that
in
should
the
be
room,
involving
so-
Bess.
Yeah.
But
So maybe
Call it a night.
yeah. Maggie's already dying anyway. We might as well let.
I have not been paying attention for the hour.
Oh no.
Yeah, it sounds like both
Wow.
Maggie and John are both kind of
yeah,
non-functional. So
No.
but
I really wanted to play, and then like 10 minutes.
you sat down and
I
everything.
Yeah, and then it's like,
don't
Oh,
want to
no.
people at all.
Yeah.
Actually.
Oh.
Yeah. Like I sat down, and I was like, oh.
right. So a few moments after the figure passes out of your vision, there's sort of like a very slight tremble in the ground underneath your feet,
Oh, that's unnerving.
Why?
and then you see a shift in the dirt and the ground up ahead of you in the graveyard, and
Oh.
it's not something bursting out like you'd seen before. What you actually see is it looks almost as if the dirt sort of rises up, and like there's like headstones and a couple of other statuary and stuff almost like embedded into the dirt as a large humanoid appearing shape just kind of rises up out of the dirt, and it almost becomes like the ground itself forms, covered in fallen headstones and statuary, this large elemental looking thing, and it sort of like looks around, turns into the direction of where that figure went, and then sort of like glides forward.
Oh
And
dear.
since everyone is super tired and we don't have Beth,
Oh,
we'll
no.
just have a short little interlude, and we'll set that up for next time.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
We're all good for next week, though, I think.
Yeah, I might be a little late, but
I
I'm
will-
good.
I will be late next week because I have to work.
Yeah, I might be a little late
So I'll
because I'm
be
going
there.
to a work-related conference, but
Well,
I'll have to take the dog out and walk him and all that before I
Mhm.
can log on. But I can be here. I just might be a little late.
So
I am going to have one weekend next month that I'm not going to be able to play because I will be in Michigan.
Yeah, I have a weekend next month that I won't be able to play because I will be at Selling
That's
Pottery
fine.
Convention.
That's fair.
I'm going to be in
Which weekend is
Milwaukee somewhere in mid-August. Or, no, mid-October.
The 10th through that weekend.
Yeah.
That's actually the same weekend, so
Oh, that works out.
that's convenient.
Brendan has
yeah,
the same weekend.
because
This
I'm
is
going
gonna be
up
great.
on
No,
I'm going up
unfortunately,
on
Oh,
the
no.
13th.
Weekend
It's later.
after that,
I'm going to be gone
Gonna be out of town.
the 19th.
19th. Okay.
I think the 19th. Yeah, the 19th.
Then,
Cool.
no,
So-
actually, okay.
So I know Maggie and John, you're super tired, and we'll put a pin in this particular
Yeah.
escapade. But if the rest of you are interested, I could very quickly run you through a quick Eberron one-shot adventure. You'll just need to create some level 1 or 2 characters. If
I
you like.
mean-
Or we can play some Cards Against Humanity or whatever.
I mean, yeah, I as much as I would enjoy a game, I also don't want to be up crazy late tonight.
No, it's only 5:30. What are you talking about?
It's 8:30. And if
Hi, Tom.
and I know if we do a one shot, there's a chance of us running late. So,
Mhm.
but because I need to get up. Well, one, the dog doesn't actually let me sleep in that much, and two, I need to get up tomorrow and do stuff because I didn't do anything today.
Yeah, tell me about it.
So, I mean, I'd be up for a round or two of Cards Against Humanity or Call It a Night.
Cards.
Yeah.
Cards.
Mm-hmm. You can do that.
I might relocate to the living room for cards.
Oh, before you sign off of Roll20, I totally forgot to do this. I have a picture. Give me a second.
Oh, fun.
Okay.
Cute.
Oh, fuck. We can see
right.
all that, so I'm gonna not look at all that.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I mean, I'm just not reading it.
Yeah.
I mean, also though, I have.
I said it was an elemental,
Yeah.
and that's just generic elemental information.
Yeah.
To make it really quickly in Roll20, I copied an Earth elemental and then changed everything. So, but it still has like the generic bio of an Earth elemental. But
Okay. That's fair.
So it's like bits of skeletons and stuff that are coming up, sticking out of the dirt, out of the thing. I'll show another picture next time.
Fun. Skeletal Earth elemental.
Yeah, it's a grave elemental. That's really cool.
Ooh.
That is pretty cool.
All right.
Cool. What are you doing?
Okay.
All right. I am going to sign off of Roll20 and relocate to the living room and probably go to the bathroom before we play. But then I'm out for
Can someone put a link in the general chat or something?
Bye.
I've never
Well,
remembered.
not bye. I'm still here, but
Yep.
bye.